Morning all. Lovely morning. Trip out from Fotheringhay towards one of my favourite villages around here, which is Woodnewton, and then across the fields to Apethorpe, and then some sort of circular walk back again along the Willow Brook, and if all goes well we end up back at Fotheringhay, otherwise we end up lost. So yeah, cracking day, looking forward to it. Another of my favourite waterways in this part of the world. This is Willow Brook. We'll talk about Willow Brook a little bit later on the walk. We should be picking it up on the way back to Fotheringhay. I'll tell you a little bit more about it then, but yeah, another one of my favourite little waterways. Walking down the main street in Woodnewton. Lovely place, always very quiet, not just today. Very peaceful place. That's the lovely St Mary's Church at Woodnewton. Very nice church. Just heading out of the back of the village now, down towards Watermill, as was. Probably one of my most favourite places on the planet. I've lived in this place in my dreams many times. It's just a fantastic place, and I would love to live there. Well, I've just seen my first swallow sitting on a telegraph wire, right above my head. So where are we? 7th of April, first swallow of summer. Nice one. There she is. Mill, beautiful place. The mill closed, it was a flour mill, closed in 1906. The last miller here was a guy called Sidney Spademan, who used to be the miller at Easton on the Hill. Came here, tried to make a go of it, and simply couldn't. Really was swimming against the tide, as were most watermill owners. He stayed in the village and died in the village later in the 1900s. The water wheel, as you'll see in the old picture in the corner, used to be here, where the water now comes out sorry, from that tunnel. That was the stream that drove the water wheel, and the section on the left of this building has been added, as you can see from the old picture. And it was an undershot wheel, which are unusual. The water doesn't drive it from the top falling down, it drives it from the underside. The beautiful place, and actually even more beautiful now than it was in its heyday. Really nice place. That rather lovely stream running around the mill was what was known as the spillway. So if there was too much water flying under the wheel, they could divert the water around the water wheel and back out the other side. They called them the spillway, and that's what this would have been. But again, very sympathetically looked after. Coming down now into the village of, well, it used to be Apethorpe, but I learnt last week it's not Apethorpe at all, it's Apethorpe. Apethorpe. I guess the villagers didn't want to be called apes or referred to as apes, so it's not Apethorpe, even though it's spelt Apethorpe. It's Apethorpe. And I'd love to get some shots of Apethorpe Hall, recently redesignated Apethorpe Palace. But it's beautifully well hidden, so I don't know whether in the village I might be able to get some shots. But yeah, it's a lovely 15th century country house, is probably an understatement, owned by a French guy, Baron von Fetten his name is, an Anglophile, loves the English, bought the building about 6 years ago, puts a lot of money into it and has promised to keep it and keep putting money into it and keep it in the condition it appears to now be in. It's a National Trust building, you can visit it about I think 50 times a year, I think they said, but never been, and it's very well hidden, otherwise I'd show you pictures of it. But yeah, I hope to get some shots down in the village. Always used to enjoy walking down this path into the village of Apethorpe because that building ahead is a pub. But unfortunately, like all other pubs, it's not open, and I could just do with a beer. It's a lovely morning, it's warm. Yeah, nice ice cold beer. Not going to happen, I'm afraid. That's the water tower at Apethorpe. Looks like it's been lopped off a nearby castle. It's about as close as we can get. A little bit of Apethorpe Hall. That's Bridge Cottage on the approach to Apethorpe. Sorry, I called it Apethorpe again, didn't I? Apethorpe. I've got an old postcard, I think, of these cottages. If I'm right, I'll put it up. If not, I won't, but I'm pretty sure I have. It's the wonderful Willow Brook once again, which, as I say, we'll pick up later in the walk. Very nice. To see some bluebells starting to appear in these woods here. Certainly the first showing of this sort of magnitude I've seen this year. They're not open fully yet, but still good to see. Spring's on its way. I do make an effort on these walks to find pretty isolated circular walks where I'm unlikely to see anybody, which is quite important in these times, but sometimes you run to sections like this that just kind of underline why you don't see anybody else daft enough to try and walk on this. Crazy. Well, we've just passed the 11-mile mark. Got about 3/4 of a mile to go. So it's been a long one, but this is the last stretch of the walk now, and it's alongside the banks of Willow Brook, which is a lovely waterway. It's actually almost getting close to a river at this stage rather than a brook. There's plenty of water on it. It runs about 15 miles long. It runs from north of Corby, or northeast of Corby, sorry, northwest of Corby I think it is. It enters the Nene somewhere near to Elton. In the past it used to be the outlet for the water that Corby Steelworks used to get through. They used to dump it into Willow Brook, and it was quite polluted until the steelworks closed in I think it was 1980. But you can see it's a very healthy stream now, and this stretch of Willow Brook has trout in it. It's the only trout stream in Northamptonshire, and they even have their own fly fishing club here, so that's a good sign of the condition. I think the trout were introduced in 1954, if I remember rightly, by a landowner in this area, and they've absolutely flourished. It's a good fishing river. Apart from trout, there's some good chub in here as well. So yeah, it's a cracking river. Always nice to see, and you know, close to getting back to the car now, which is good. Back in Fotheringhay. That's it, we're done. Just under 12 miles, probably a bit further than I thought it was going to be. It was a nice walk on a really nice day. Yeah, it was good, enjoyed it. I think I'm going to suffer for it, but that'll be the last one for this week. Put my feet up now.